Hi folks, here's a video on the occultic aspects of United Airlines Flight 93 that we are told made this big hole in the ground in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. I don't buy that story at all. I really don't know what happened, but I'm not going to go into that at all in this video, only to cover the occultic aspects of United 93, and in particular the number 93 itself. So um, here we go. 93 is the number of Thelema. Thelema is the magical system founded by occultist Aleister Crowley again. Um, Now, in Thelema, we have the two basic sayings of Thelema, which are do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and love is the law, love under will. This comes from Wikipedia. In the Greek, the word for will is thelema. The word for agape is, the word for love is agape. Both of these in gematria or gematria total up to 93. So that's a big deal to them in their magical occultic way of thinking, and they think that's really cool. So 93 has become the number that is identified with the system of thelema. As far as I know, it doesn't really have any other occultic significance outside of thelema. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I'm not sure. But anyway, it is common for Thelemites, according to Wikipedia, to greet each other with 93 in person, as well as in the opening and closing of written correspondence. That is because do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and love is the law, love under will. Actually saying these things is kind of cumbersome, so they just abbreviate it to 93, 93 over 93. And here's a couple of examples of this. The first is from Aleister Crowley himself. Here's a letter he wrote to some guy a long time ago, and look at his signature. Right before his little phallic signature, notice the A, you see 93, 93 over 93. So that's the way that Aleister Crowley would often sign his letters. Here's another Thelemite signing an autograph. I don't know who this was. I can't read the signature, but here's his signature. So anyway, 93 is very, very associated with Aleister Crowley and the occult and Thelema. It is the number of Thelema. Here are some symbols of Thelema just for reference. Notice the one on the bottom center and the bottom left, and then knowing that this is a symbol of Thelema, look at how the number 93 pops up in these pictures that I'm about to show you. These are just coffee mugs, a lot of them that you can buy on Amazon and stuff. Just look at this. There's one. There's one. There's one. That's interesting because of the Babylon thing all around it. And then this symbol, remember, is one that was popularized by John Dee with his Enochian angels, also used in more modern times by Aleister Crowley. I think that I read today that this symbol actually goes back to like the 13th century or something. I was thinking it was something that was actually handed to John Dee by the Enochian angels, but I think that's incorrect. It goes back even further than that. So anyway, and the Babylon around it makes me think of the stuff that Aleister Crowley was teaching, and specifically the Babylon working rituals with Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard, but I will get to that in a later video. But anyway, 93 is the number of the Thelemites. Now, yeah, here's another one right here. So what is the significance of this number as it pertains to the actual event of 9/11? And this is where I'm gonna make a suggestion, and I don't really have a lot of evidence for this, but I've got somebody to back me up, and then Donald Rumsfeld will help make the case a little bit himself. But I think that there's a very interesting conclusion on this. So see if you can follow where I'm going with this here. All right, first of all, we've got Mark Passio here. He is a pretty accomplished, I'm going to use my own term here, and I hope he doesn't object to this, kind of an occultist white magician guy. He believes that 9/11 is an occultic ritual. I took this screenshot from his video, which is a really excellent video. He did a very good job putting this together, and I think he really knows what he's talking about. he did a lot of very good work here. You can find this video on YouTube by searching Mark Passio. Passio is P-A-S-S-I-O. To search Mark Passio 9/11 and you'll find it. It's pretty easy to find. He apparently likes the system of thelema. He likes a lot of stuff about Aleister Crowley and the Enochian magic, but he's not into any kind of evil, killing, pedophile type of stuff, with these things. Not everybody who practices this stuff is a child sacrificing, Enochian apocalypse working, practicing Satanist, and he would be a prime example of that. He does not approve of those kinds of things. At least that's what he says, and I'm going to take him at his word on that. But anyway, he's actually spent quite a bit of time in the occult, and I think actually came out of Satanism and into something a little kinder and gentler. So he's something of an authority on this kind of stuff, and he suggests, and I tend to very much agree with him, it makes a lot of sense, that Flight 93 actually was the failure part of the ritual. Flight 93 was supposed to hit Building 7 that you see here in the center of the picture. With Building 7, we have a building that collapsed without having been hit by an aircraft. And it came down in a very unconvincing way, which has really given the 9/11 truth community an awful lot of ammunition that people like Donald Rumsfeld would rather that we did not have to go on in order to really to shoot holes in the official story. Now, if you're very interested in that aspect, I really recommend these videos from Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. These are really awesome videos if you're interested in the technical aspects of the New York Trade Center disaster and how Building 7 is the smoking gun for controlled demolition. This is really nice work by very knowledgeable professionals, and I can't recommend it enough. All right, so Building 7 didn't come down because of office fires. It was demolished. We have a building that came down without being hit by a plane. With Flight 93, we have a plane that crashed without hitting a building. Passio and I tend to think both that 93 was destined for Building 7. And when something went wrong with the flight, they ended up having to pull the building or to bring it down into controlled demolition. So I think that that's right, and that the ritual failed. So to back up this idea, I just want to play you a couple of clips from Donald Rumsfeld, one audio from a radio interview and one where somebody actually caught him on camera, just kind of ambushed him on the side of the street after hearing the guy with the camera actually had heard what he said on the radio and went up to him and asked him about what he said on the radio, challenged him on it, and it's really significant. What I get from this is Donald Rumsfeld realizes and knows full well that this group that he's a part of, these neocons who pulled off 9/11, they screwed up with Building 7. It did not go well for them, and Building 7 makes them kind of look like they're standing there with their pants down, because they have to try to take the focus off of this. They don't want to talk about it, and you can see that Donald Rumsfeld is actually fairly uncomfortable, and he doesn't want to talk about this at all. He claims to not even know what it was. So anyway, let me play the video for you on that, and you'll see what I mean, and you can see what you think of it.
Building 7, I often hear about. No plane hit Building 7. Why did Building 7 come down? What do you tell people?
What is Building 7?
Or what, it was a Building 5, or the building that wasn't hit by the plane? Building 7.
I have no idea. I've never heard that.
Yeah, but I was wondering, have you heard of Building 7? Because there was like a radio show where you said that you never heard of Building 7.
No, I haven't. What's Building 7?
The third skyscraper that fell on 9/11.
Oh my gosh, sure. Now I remember.
Did you do some research into that?
No, I was busy with the Pentagon getting hit.
Of course. Yeah, but there's a lot of controversy surrounding that.
Oh, is that right?
It was the third skyscraper that was away from.
I gotta go.
But
So Rummy doesn't want to talk about this. And why? Because it was an operational failure for the group that he was a part of. Now, I believe that that event was not, that aspect of the event did not go as planned, and they kind of got caught with their pants down at that point. I agree with Mark Passio that 93 was headed for Building 7. Now, in this video that you see a screenshot of, he gives some more numerological evidence for why that would be the case, and I'm going to cover that in a later video. There's more to it than just what I've shown you here. But anyway, just for the sake of argument and to keep this moving here, let's assume that this is right. 93 was headed for Building 7. What does that leave us? What's the numerological or the symbolic significance of that? Now, Building 7, or 7 rather, the number 7, is symbolically is the number of God, whether that's depending on your theology and your point of view, whether or not that's some sort of a cosmic creator entity, a very vague, warm, fuzzy feeling, or God, or like the occultists believe, or whether that's the biblical Yahweh, as we would have in biblical Christianity. Regardless of what your views are on that, 7 is the number of God, all right, and 93 is the number of Thelema. So what does this leave us with? Had the ritual gone off as planned, with Flight 93 striking Building 7, it would have given us a situation where we had playing out on our computer screens symbolically the aircraft with the number of Thelema and Satanism, essentially taking out and destroying the building with the number of the biblical God Yahweh. That's what you would have seen on your TV screens. That would have been a successful ritual. What you actually saw was the ritual failing, with the Flight 93 crashing in Pennsylvania and Building 7 coming down in a controlled demolition, in a very obvious way. It was a controlled demolition. So to me, I think this is really, really encouraging, and this is really a very good thing. Here's why. What you see here in the form of a painting, and I love this painting, except I would have portrayed Jesus as way, way bigger and Satan as way, way smaller. But anyway, I think that would have been more accurate. But what you see is kind of an artist's depiction of the age-old struggle that's been going on since the time of the Garden of Eden, at least, maybe a little before. What you see is, this is just really the way the spirit world works. This is part of the world that we live in, and this is what 9/11 was a glimpse into. And when you look at things this way, here's the conclusion that you have to come to. This is what you see, and this is what encourages me. You see a Trinitarian Yahweh on one side who is so powerful that he can speak the entire universe into existence just by an act of will, and he can trick his enemies into killing him on a cross, and then totally get a one-up on them in a massive way by bringing himself back to life, by resurrecting himself 3 days later. He brings himself back to life. Somebody doesn't do it for him. He does it for himself. He's unkillable. He's omniscient. And then on the other side, you have a collection of wannabe gods who can't even manage to fly 4 planes into 4 buildings and pull it off in a convincing fashion, in spite of the fact that they've been working on it for decades. Now, when 9/11 is portrayed to you in that way, all right, in the context of everything I've already shown you, plus the stuff I haven't even shown you yet, all right, who do you think is going to win this struggle? Who's going to win? To me, this is very encouraging, and I hope it is to you too. Hope you enjoyed the video and you'll come back for others. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.